So imagine giving a standard operating procedure to somebody that has been in your company for years and has never used one ever.
Nope.
Like, hey, you gotta show up to work on time.
A lot of times the most guilty of breaking the processes because I can, you know?
Everything okay? Is the team good? Yeah, everything's fine. The team's great. Everything okay? The team good? Yeah, everything is great. Everything's perfect. And then the third time, everything great? Yeah, the team is great. Okay, so then you're the problem.
Luis Perez.
Oh, yeah.
On the common thread.
Oh, yeah.
Super excited about this today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Yeah. So this is a little bit different setup than what we have typically done thus far. And I'm really excited about the different directions we could take this conversation today. But obviously for our podcast, The Common Thread, we always begin with that piece, that thread that has brought our lives together. So much to go into.
Oh, my gosh.
So why don't we start with just a quick introduction, who you are, what you do, and then we'll just kind of launch into it from there.
Yeah, sure. So Luis Perez, I have been in leadership for about 15 years. I'm currently the owner of GLS Consult LLC, where I help small businesses kind of build systems and structure around all the things that they do. I'm a father of 3. I have a 10-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and a 4-year-old girl, so I stay super busy with that.
Heck yeah.
And personally, I love anime. Anime is huge.
And you're okay with it.
Near and dear to my heart.
I'm not going to make
judge
fun
me
of
all
you.
you want. Huge Naruto fan, and so yeah, that's it for me.
I love it. I love it. So obviously we go way back.
Oh, yeah.
We predate Soccer Genome, which is also really cool because most of the guests on the podcast have basically been relationships established through SG, but we predate SG. Mm-hmm. Waiting tables together. Waiting tables.
At a retirement community.
At a retirement community. So many skills developed in those days.
Patience, a little bit more
patience.
Yeah.
Service, taking care of customers.
Absolutely.
All for that minimum wage.
Oh,
baby.
Minimum wage.
So looking back, as a business owner, we're both business owners. We've worked together, and we'll get to that at some point in the podcast. Thinking back about those early days, what would you say are some of those kind of skills that we probably weren't aware we were building?
Oh, yeah.
That have disproportionately allowed us to get to where we are today, knowing that not everyone we worked with is in the same position we're in today.
Yeah. I would say from back in the day, I mean, when you show up, that's like 90% of the game.
Yeah.
Like we were never late. We were on time. We did our jobs. We did our side work. Sure, there was complaining, but we were 19, 20 at the time. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, it's showing up for whatever you're doing was so important. That's building that work ethic, being on time, being reliable, and then kind of owning more responsibilities as we kept moving in those roles, and being more responsible for things in those roles for sure helped us.
So early on, I do remember one of my first people I met at that job was you. And you were kind of the guy when I came in, and I think one thing that was funny is Luis knew what to do. Luis 5 tables sat at the same time, no problem. Systems and processes locked in. So talk me a little bit through about your personality and kind of the pieces that are unique to you, or skills that you feel is kind of a Luis thing that have served you really well and kind of led to where you're at today.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is self-reflection.
Yeah.
Did I do a good job there? How was this perceived? Things of that nature, especially when you're waiting tables. We happen to do it at a retirement community, and so there were a lot of quote-unquote regulars. And so you get to know people. You get to know kind of what makes them tick, and should I talk a lot for this person or talk less for that person? And I think we've all learned lessons. I remember that one time at the bar. I don't know if you remember this, but we were kind of waiting the tables, and then somebody was like, Luis, agua. And I'm like, I'm never waiting on that guy again. But all in all, you kind of learn, hey, what would have made this more seamless? How could this have worked a little better? And so you always iterate. And that's the biggest thing with me. It's you try something, it didn't work well, you try to make it work better. And I've just, brought that on with me throughout my entire career of I can go out there and do the thing, and I could make it better and better and better and better, and that's what I try to do.
So it's funny because I remember for me, one of the most unique pieces of that job that I see playing out through the rest of my life is understand what do you do under pressure, right? Not everybody showed up for their shift. we get, triple sat at the same time. Someone has extra guests, and it's like, you don't get to like just say, well, no, I'm not doing it. It's like, figure out a way. You've got to make this work. And if you don't make it work quick, like there's no time to sit and complain, right? And I think we both know there's a lot of people that would just sit and complain and be okay with the fact that the service was going to be subpar. But thinking through that piece of delivering under pressure, and you can either make excuses or you just find a way to deliver, being something that has served me so well. And I always reflect back on like, that was something you were really good at. Like I don't ever remember seeing you run faster because you got more tables. It was just like, get to work, solve the problem, and move.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, communication is key, right? Like just having everybody understand what the situation is and what's the best outcome of it. When there's 3 call outs and all of this stuff happening, like my expectation isn't everything is going to be perfect. No, but it's going to be all the things still need to get done. How do we rally together as a team to do it? And, I was just a server, just like you, making the same amount of money. So I was not in a leadership position, but I was still able to rally the troops. I was still able to, if it's a big table, maybe I get all the drink orders and then hand it off to a busser or something like that. It's just to kind of think through, how do I make this process as seamless as possible for the people that are sitting and trying to enjoy this experience. And I'm not one about excuses. I'm not going to tell every table, sorry, we had 5 call outs. Let's just make sure that, be patient with us, please. It's it doesn't matter. And maybe they might ask like, hey, I see you running around like crazy. And that's when I'll probably tell them. But there's a lot of humility in just being able to first communicate and let people kind of know what's happening behind the scenes. But you still want to deliver the best that you possibly can in that moment. And then I think as I've grown as a leader and not just a server, it's how do we, create systems and things like that to make sure that that doesn't keep happening.
Right.
Because like if it happened every single day for the rest of eternity,
it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work. Everybody would burn out. That's a very common, thread these days, burnout. And so, hey, this is what happened. How is accountability conversations? What does a follow-up look like after something like this happens? Again, iterate. And then moving forward, it gets better.
So let's kind of fast forward through a decade of life. And, we stay connected. And what's, I think, fascinating, obviously, I go the entrepreneur route, small business route. You go the corporate route.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about that decade for a bit and kind of the things you learned, kind of a high-level view of the, the pathway you took. And then we kind of circle back to how we got connected again, kind of intensely from a professional standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. So from that server job, I got a different server job. This was at Red Lobster. Essentially just grew up the ranks and became a manager. So applied for management, and I got my first gig at the age of 22. So the ripe age of only 22, telling people what to do was wild. Learned a lot from that. But at 22, went to Jacksonville, North Carolina, helped run the front of the house of that. And then, a year later, ran the back of the house of that location. Learned a ton when it comes to systems, processes, how to do things, and frankly, how not to do things. Because again, at 22, I'm telling a 52-year-old server that they're doing it wrong, and I've learned some lessons. And so there's a thing about when you're in leadership, you think you have the answers, everybody should listen to you, but it's actually about the people. It's about the people that work with you. And I like to say work with you, not necessarily work for you, because one human, me, cannot do 20 other people's jobs, especially in a shift. And so the minute that clicked for me, it's like, hey, I understand that everybody plays a huge part in the success of anything that we do. So essentially from Red Lobster, went to another location, did the similar things. Then I became a general manager for a grocery chain. Learned a ton there. And I think the biggest lesson for me there is I was trying to be like a good boss. So I just learned I got to be good to people. And then I go to a place and now I am, responsible for everything. I have to make sure that this gets done, that gets done. Guests are happy. I'm hiring. I'm letting go of people if I need to. But I was overly taking care of the team and not in a good way, meaning I let them not be to the expectation. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry. I'll help you. And the biggest learning for me in that moment was, and I'll never forget it, my district manager at the time, and this grocery chain was cutthroat, if you know anything about. But my district manager, 2 or 3 visits, it wasn't perfect. Is everything okay? Is the team good? Yeah, everything's fine. The team's great. Everything okay? The team good? Yeah, everything is great. Everything is perfect. And then the third time, everything great. Yeah, the team is great. Okay, so then you're the problem. I'm like,
wow, okay.
what? Okay. And so that to me was the reframe of like being a good boss actually means telling them what the standard is and getting them to the standard, not protecting them.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was a huge learning for me in that environment. And then I had the opportunity to work for a different grocery chain, and I actually got to work overseas, which is really cool. So we brought a German concept to the United States. And so I was one of the Wave 1 store managers that went over, and I got to spend 17 weeks in Ireland. And so in Ireland, I got to learn this whole concept, learn a whole new culture, had great experiences, but then I got to bring that entire concept back to the United States, right?
Yeah.
And so in the US, we got to hire every single supervisor, every single team member, and we launched stores across the East Coast at the same time. And then I had the Raleigh flagship store. But with onboarding so many, team members and interviewing so many team members, you kind of get that rhythm of what is the vision of the company, and then how are they going to be a part of it?
Yeah.
We don't want just people that can breathe and have a pulse, right? We want somebody that is tied in. Culture fit, understands that. And to me, the funniest part is like I'm onboarding 300, 400 people at a time. And I'm working on my dad jokes in front of all of them, right? And so every time they'll land, I'm like, 1 for 1.
1 for 1. I'm keeping that one.
And then when it doesn't land, 1 for 2, So it's just a really cool, way to just be your authentic self, in those moments. And
but also I think just the volume of reps, right? Like, I know in the small business world, we don't have anywhere near the volume of like hiring and firing. Yeah. And so there are some things that in that corporate environment, like getting that number of reps puts you in a position to build that skill so much more rapidly than like someone who's only doing that 2 to 3 times a year.
Yeah, absolutely. From there, I became a leader for like a Fortune 100 company. And so this company was huge. There's one in every corner almost, right? And so you were kind of a number, like I had an 8-digit, team member number in that. But rose through the ranks super quickly in that specific organization to where I was a multi-unit leader for them. So I had about 26 locations, and I helped drive the food business specifically to move forward. And so the really cool thing, like the full circle moment for me in those types of role, in that role specifically, is I learned from Red Lobster, like how to lead a team. And then I learned from Aldi about how to get the team to the right level. And so when I am at something like this huge organization, I have to look at the 26 buildings saying, how do I make an impact in every single one of these buildings when I'm there an hour and a half a month, which is like terrifying if you really think about it, right? Yeah. And so you have to bring your influence to the table. You have to get all the right partners. You have to make sure that everything is a good fit, but also the impact that you have for that hour and a half per month has to last.
Yeah, it's gonna be really strategic.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you talk about systems and processes and things like that, I had to make sure, okay, this is my cadence for visiting. This is what I'm going over with visiting. And I see, even now in a lot of small businesses, it's like the girl in the red dress, and like you gotta look, oh, there's a new thing, a new shiny object, a new this, a new that. And with 26 locations, you can't do that. You can't do that. And so like I came in with an agenda. I helped out anything else that was outside of that agenda after my agenda was accomplished. So I can say, in this 2-week span, I went through all of these things with the stores, and then the next 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks, so that by 6 weeks, everything was gone through. Yeah. Now I can give a targeted approach to each individual store, depending on where exactly they were at. So huge learnings from there for sure. And in the middle of that process, I actually got to work a little bit with you in Soccer Genome. So.
Which is a great transition moment. So during that same kind of 10-year period, I left the server industry for this dream of not having any idea what I was doing, but I was doing my thing, right? And that thing was Soccer Genome. And so much of Soccer Genome was about not knowing specifically where I was going, but again, directionally, I knew like this was the thing. Yeah. And it very much was following a hunch, and it was something that was really personal to me in that Soccer had given me so much. Soccer was that thing I would always be procrastinating and doing when I was supposed to be doing something else. And just organically, people had asked me like, "Hey, will you coach my kid? Like, they're playing soccer. You play soccer. You know, let's do this." And so, during that period, viewing myself as an entrepreneur first was like not even on the radar. I was like, I'm a soccer coach. Like, I'm coaching soccer, and my goal is to be a really good soccer coach. And you know, I get this massive sense of purpose and meaning when I'm able to transfer what I know and have learned and pass that passion on to a kid I'm working with. And then they go do their thing. The light bulb is going off. They're having a blast. They're getting better. And just like the energy is so palpable. And then, you know, around, I would say probably 2015. So about 4 years into that gig, it was like, oh, like this actually could be something. This isn't just like a side hustle. We could actually build something here. And at the time I had 2 other partners. And you know, we move into this building in 2015. We can't afford it. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no prepayment systems. You know, we're booking sessions on Google Calendar. We have no follow-up system. There's no system. It's all just heroic effort and winging it.
Yep.
And so I always joke, every mistake you can make in business, I've made. You know, so lots of battle scars. But through that process, you know, we somehow survive. You know, we're just very hard to kill. And around 2018, 2019, it becomes evident that the remaining partners in Soccer Genome were not working well together. So we start discussing what an exit would look like. 2020 hits, COVID, and all of those discussions get put on hold because we have no idea what's going to happen. We're just bleeding out cash left and right. People are canceling their academy contracts. We don't actually even have a contract. They just stopped paying. We're still paying full rent for our location.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm out at WRAL Soccer Complex just running training 9 hours a day and 110 degrees June through August. And it's just like, what in the world is going on? Survive that, complete the buyout in 2021. And this is what brings us back to you and me. And so at that time, emotionally just at zero personally, was so exhausted and fatigued with the grind of the job and the delivery, the emotional drain of the partner buyout, the uncertainty around COVID, the uncertainty of basically rebooting what's left of the business coming out of COVID, recognizing there's no systems and processes anywhere to be found in SG, right? There isn't a single SOP to be found. And being in this position of like, crap, I know we're onto something. We've survived since 2011, but now it's just me, right? And with just me, I have to be able to understand what do we have and can we survive? And, you know, thankfully, having a great investor partner who was such a, you know, a foundational piece of support that was like, no, we're going to get through. Like, we're on to something here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work to be done, but we're definitely not going under. Like, this is just the beginning. We're growing. So, you know, without his support, would not have made it. And at the same time, you know? And so when my initial reach out came to you, it was like, Lewis, I can't do this. Yeah. And I don't know where to start. All I know is the ship is sinking. I am delivering everything now. We've got tens of thousands of dollars in receivables that we have not received. Some of it's been maturing for over 12 months. We have no way to automatically book sessions, collect payments, track payments, see who's paid, who hasn't paid. We have no way to schedule coaches. I'm answering all the emails. I'm also delivering all the training, coaching. We got no way to develop coaches. It's like we're drowning, you know? And I think that in that moment, this was like such a key piece of both my growth of transitioning from viewing myself primarily as a soccer coach to like, no, I'm a business owner and I'm an entrepreneur and this is par for the course. Mm-hmm. And then our relationship together of like, Lewis has a very unique skill set that was developed specifically because of the path you took through corporate that I will never have because I haven't walked that path. And so being able to have a reach out to a friend who has a specific skill set that is so applicable to the small business entrepreneur founder who's hit some massive constraints in business, has demonstrated product market fit, but it's like all of the heroic effort that got you there is now irrelevant because now you're just going to crash.
Yep.
And so being able to bring you in, get someone that had no emotion about all of the pieces falling apart, and it's like, dude, it's like, okay, we just need to focus on 3 things.
Yeah.
We can do this. Having someone come in that understood where we would be and it not be about where we are today. It's like, you aren't going to get the positive feedback loops today. It's like, we're going to start these processes. It's going to feel like death. You're going to wake up every day and you're going to feel miserable.
Yeah.
And we're just going to stay the course. And we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be all right.
Yeah.
SG would not be here if it wasn't for that. So I think that right now would be a great moment to kind of dive into some of the nuts and bolts of your perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe like a high level, perspective of this was one of your first engagements with working with a neurotic business owner, founder, entrepreneur.
You said it.
I said it. There's no doubt I was neurotic. We didn't do everything perfect. So some of maybe the mistakes we made, some of the gut instinctual pieces that you're like, okay, like we need to do this and we need to do this now.
Yeah.
And then how that kind of process played out from your perspective.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest thing when you're going into any business, and this was one of my first engagements, it's like there's a lot of emotion behind everything that you just said, right?
Yeah.
So what I see overall in small businesses is the person does the thing really well. You're great at coaching, all of that. You build a business around it, but you don't necessarily understand how to specifically run that. And so even in the communication that you were giving me, I'm like, okay, like this is feelings. I don't see numbers. I don't see give me the numbers, give me all the data, right? And so step one was like actually diagnosing where you were at, right? And kind of putting those emotions and feelings with a tangible metric that we could potentially move forward.
And what were some of those? Just like specifics.
I mean, just overall, like what is your throughput? What is your utilization? How many coaches do you have? Like all of these, it sounds like basic questions, but when you actually put them on paper and then you see what's happening, that's the eye-opening.
Hey buddy, how are you booking clients?
Yeah.
You're using Google Calendar?
Yeah.
Okay,
and so
we can
I
that.
remember, so one of the first things we did obviously was sit down and I'm like, show me what you do.
Yeah.
And you showed me Google Calendar on the phone with a client. The client wants to book. You go into QuickBooks and you do the invoice, and then you go into, the calendar, and then you put it on the calendar. But then you're like, hold on, I might need to call you back. And then you get off the phone, and then you call the coach.
And then I might send like a PayPal invoice in there somewhere.
And then you say, Coach, are you available this day? Oh, no, they are off that Tuesday. So now you got to call the parent back and then get another time and date on the calendar. And so seeing that process was like,
no wonder you're neurotic.
Understand why you're working 70 hours a week, right? And so then you look into the QuickBooks, and QuickBooks, you see accounts receivables at over $10,000. And so the basic questions of, are we following up with these people? The answer was probably not. But
Absolutely
then
not.
in your, and how your business runs, you had the academies, which is multiple kids come in at certain times every single week. And so when we look, it's like, how are you checking those kids in to see if they were paid or not?
Yeah.
And
we weren't.
You weren't.
We weren't.
You weren't. And so from a business perspective, it's like, that's how you stop leakage.
Yeah.
But at the same time, since you were going through that, a founder is leaving and they got bought out, or all those details, I had to extrapolate all the data from that founder too. Logins, credentials, this, that, and the third, back and forth, making sure that we kept our IP of Soccer Genome in that transition. And so in doing all of that, I can tell you some issues that we've had too. So I'm like, okay, how do we bring the systems together where the owner doesn't have to do 4 steps in order to get somebody, in here hired? Called a whole bunch of different, software programs and stuff like that. And Calendly came up. Calendar, and they could book and they could do this and they could do that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I think we found something, Taylor. And you were at that point where you're just like, I trust you, whatever, like, because you were just at wit's end. And so first, thank you for your trust in me. Because I pretty much, I joke with your team, like I have your social security number,
still got
your
all
credentials,
of my bank account.
all of that stuff. Right?
Still got it.
But long of the short, we tried this out, and that really first 2 days, I was like sold the dream. I was talking to the people at Calendly. They're like, oh, we can do this and this is going to be perfect. And then when you put that system in to implement it, it did not work the way that we needed it to work.
No.
And so we had to quickly pivot.
Yeah.
And so in that pivot, again, like you can make a plan, but again, it's all about iteration.
Right.
It was the best thing at the time. I got the phone calls. They said that it would work and it didn't work.
Yeah.
We realized it within that same week, and we got a replacement thing within that same week that we were going to roll out, which was called specifically MindBody.
Yeah.
And so that's a software that allowed the parents to book based off of the availabilities of the coaches that was already preset, and they had to pay before booking, and the weekly or the monthly recurring for the weekly sessions
contracts
automatically went through at the first of the month.
Yeah.
And so that eliminated all of the pain points
about
for
25
you.
steps.
Yes, about 25 steps easily, which was a reduction of likely 30 to 40 hours for you per week.
Well, so I think this was an important point, right? Like when you're in the weeds as the owner and the founder, it's not always just financial leakage, because the financial leakage is real, but it's also just the emotional leakage, right? And I think that was the piece that, in the moment, you're emotionally low and little things just set you off because there's just no capacity. And a lot of it is because like you're not just leaking cash, you're leaking your emotions and you're leaking your energy. And so there's no bandwidth to absorb when there's a problem, right? Like a problem, a little molehill becomes a mountain because it's just like, I got nothing left to give. And so having someone who had emotional bandwidth that was like, dude, this is not a mountain. Like, this is an anthill, and we're going to just pivot really quick and solve that. Like, those moments become so crucial because of the downstream effects.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, understanding that emotion is there is super important, but more so having the strategy and the confidence to know that, like, we are going to do the best that we can, and we will iterate to make it exactly what we need, but like we can get there. And so even in that process, and we can talk about team, because I'm working a lot with small business owners regarding their teams. And, the overall goal is like, you retain everybody. We want to retain everybody, right? Like they've been with us for so long, and this, that, and the third, but you talked about SOPs. So imagine giving a standard operating procedure to somebody that has been in your company for years and has never used one ever.
Nope.
Like, hey, you got to show up to work on time.
Crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Don't bring your cell phone on the field.
And you have to pay attention while you're on the clock, right? So even when you implement small things like that, you have turnover. And so that's another part of that emotional piece where it's like, hey, these people have been with me for so long and this, that, and the third. But when you actually look at the data and look and see what's happening, it's like, yes, they got paid for 4 hours, but only had 1 hour of coaching. So then now when you're saying, hey guys, like we're going to get paid for the work that we do, and they're the ones that are chiming in saying this isn't fair. But as a business owner, you have to understand that that's how you kind of run that business.
Well, I think that comes back to the accountability piece. Like your team will never outperform you. So the standard that you set as the owner is going to dictate both the culture and the behaviors that are accepted within the team. And that if you aren't willing to embrace that tension and friction, then you are going to attract a certain type of team that's going to reflect you as the leader.
And how did you feel, I'm curious, during that engagement of like, obviously...
It's so painful. Like, it's so painful. It's like obvious sitting here talking about, like, of course it's going to be painful. But I think that there's this external validation of like the fact that someone's body shows up in the building to work for you is validation of your existence. And so having accountability is two-sided, right? It's like, I have to admit how badly I'm failing first with the behaviors I've allowed before the team is going to change. And then what's going to happen is as I own that and hold people accountable, there's certain people who are there purely because they could get away with whatever, right? And me not wanting to let them go in a sense was just because I wanted the validation of like, well, they're here, so they must believe, right? And it was very clear. It's like, the thing that I keep coming back to is that the team is going to reflect the leadership, and the goal is to build a culture that makes it very obvious who's not a good fit. And the business will not grow no matter what you do, no matter how much advertising, no matter how many leads you generate. The team really is the heartbeat of the business.
Yep.
And so having a very clear culture of like, these are the behaviors we reward, right? And then these are the behaviors that we just don't tolerate. And it's not a call of like, you're a bad person. It's just that this is the wrong business for you to work in if you don't align with this, because the goal is we want to attract a certain type of person that's like, that is the culture I want to be in. Like,
Yep.
That's where I want to work.
Yep.
And it's hard because you do have to hold people accountable, and not everybody's going to like you.
Yep.
And you have to be okay with that. And I think a lot of it is just growing in maturity and confidence of like, no, I like really believe this and I live this out myself. So I'm never going to ask the team to do something I'm not willing to do.
Yep.
And I think during the scale period, which again, I think is another good transition moment. Once we got through the buyout period, we survived, we didn't die.
Hooray.
And as the business starts growing, just appreciating like each new constraint we hit as a business is really a founder constraint. It's like, I have not grown, or I have some skill I have not developed, or I have some old framework of how I'm viewing myself in the world and viewing my team and our capabilities that's holding us back,
Yeah.
right? And so I think in the growth period, we have stayed in contact, we've communicated, and growing in confidence of like, always prioritize doing the right thing. And just be okay that might mean 6 months of suffering before you see any fruit from that. And again, going back to teams, and I think this is a good toss back to you to think about and communicate your experience working with other businesses, is that lag between you make the right decision. Like as the owner, this is what we have to do. You implement it, tremendous tension because now everybody's like, why are you changing everything? Why is all of this happening?
Yeah.
People start leaving.
Yeah.
And so even though you're doing all the right things, all of your emotions are screaming, this isn't working, because all of the feedback you're getting is negative. You're not getting any of the rewards yet because those are all 6 to 12 months away. And those are a result of showing up every day in the present with the new standards. So just, for me, I have now gotten to a point where like I can see that with my team. I can even feel my body has adjusted to like my feedback loops are all like 12 months to 24 months to 36 months now. But that little period of like 3 months holding firm to the new systems and processes, so difficult.
No.
So, I think that from your perspective, what are your thoughts and what have you seen?
Yeah, I completely agree. And like when I'm looking at your journey specifically, you did not have the time or energy to ascend to that level of actually being an
Right.
owner because of the systems, right? And so systems first. Like
Yeah.
if we talk about hiring, we talk about all these things. It's like, I'm going to hire an operations manager because my operations aren't good. Well, you're onboarding them to terrible because you have no systems in place,
Yep.
right? And so you being able to get sustainable operations gave you that opportunity to
Right.
kind of view things
For
differently. And so as I'm helping small businesses now, I'm seeing, to the point of behavior of the owner
Yeah.
is huge, but the emotions and the baggage behind decisions we've made in the past or things we've said in the past, and I don't know how the team would feel here, or I'm worried about this. And so those feedback loops are quick, and then that typically means that they stop. Yeah, I got some pushback and I'm not going to do this because this is scary.
It's too painful.
Right? It's
Yeah.
too painful. And so as I help businesses, first I anchor it into what is the vision?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And so if you anchor everything to the vision, to your mission statement, I want to do this and this is the reason why, then you talk to the team about that vision.
Yeah.
You align the team with this is where we want to go.
And that's where the accountability, I think, comes in, because if you don't have a clear vision of where you're going, you can't really hold anybody accountable.
Yeah. I talked to several business owners and I'm asking their vision, and they can't tell me in like an elevator pitch style
Yeah.
what their vision is. So let's start there.
Yeah.
So when you anchor things to standards, operations, SOPs, things like that, it becomes less emotional
Yeah.
and more towards a goal that we're all trying to reach.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather say, this is our vision, this is what we're trying to do. It's going to take steps to get there.
Yeah.
But if everybody is understanding of where we're going, just understand that every decision we make is for us to get to that specific vision.
Right.
And so when you anchor all of the conversations with your team before you start changing anything.
Yeah.
And what I'll also say is the team will probably give you a lot of feedback.
Oh, heck yeah.
That you need to hear. And I am honestly, and I'm not bad mouthing any businesses out there, right?
You can bad mouth me.
No. But the team will be like, yeah, the owner doesn't do half of the stuff that he expects us to do.
Yeah. It's real.
So it's the behavior. The owner shows up late. The owner doesn't follow up on things, and then they want me to follow up on things and show up on time.
Right now, Evan over here, he's nodding his head. Yeah, Taylor, that guy's always showing up
That's
late.
why I'm not looking that way. I don't want to laugh. But the long of the short, it's the behavior piece, and the owner has to take ownership of that. Well,
I mean, I think it's such a great point. Like I feel this tension every day. There's like this double standard that this is where I think the outside accountability is so important. And we still joke about this all the time when we see each other, right? The accountability piece is so real. And as an owner, it's because you're the one at the top of the food chain that you're probably, speaking of myself, a lot of times the most guilty of breaking the processes because I can, you know? So having accountability is so important.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, usually the team isn't going to call it out while you're in the room. The second you leave the room, they'll be like, can you believe this guy?
Yeah, he just told us this and did the
exact opposite. But again, I think the first step is just being aware, like, that is such a natural human instinct that if, you know, same with my kids, right? Like, kids, stop eating the junk food right before bed. Send them to bed. You know? And so it's like, it's just part of human nature.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's the reality of, like, in my world, it's so obvious because I'm a coach. Like, if everybody could show up and achieve their goals, there would be no coaches in the world. And I think as humans, we just need the community to help us achieve our goals. And then when we achieve them, sharing them together, just it multiplies the whole enjoyment of the process.
Yeah, and so in that strategy and talking with the team and then getting them aligned, my model is like, I'm not going to give you a piece of paper and say, these are the things you need to change, and then just kind of walk away. Like, I'm in it with you, right? And so really great examples of this is we align the team on the vision and everything that we're doing, and they understand that it's going to take steps to get there. And so as we're having the conversations, I'm there with the owner. At the end of the conversation, the person leaves. I ask the owner, how do you think that went? And I can tell them real time, you responded very emotionally. Like, you didn't tie that conversation to the future. You talked about the past. You said, well, that time that you did this 2 months ago. And I'm like, no, right? Like, right now we are aligned with the future. Use what happened in the past as like ammo for yourself as you move forward. Like, these are things to look for with this individual. But having that feedback with the owner real time to say, no, you have to continue to anchor it towards the future. But then also give that owner some feedback saying, you showed up late today. You did this. And so as a, you know, fractional COO, then that's what I do. It's giving that owner that accountability of like, this is the direction we're going, and now you're hindering that. And the team is on board, but they'll be more on board if you actually did the things that you said that you would do. And that is part of that behavior. And so, you know, it clicks for owners because, again, to your point, they're not used to having that real-time feedback loop. They're the boss. They probably had a conversation. It probably went terribly, by the way. And then they went home saying, I crushed that.
The team is so aligned.
I finally told Sally she needs to do better. But the real, you know, conversation was you said to Sally something very passive-aggressive that you think it clicked with her, but it wasn't clear, and she left that conversation.
What I think is so helpful to recognize is there are certain traits, right, that it's pretty well known that entrepreneurs and founders have, right? And they're typically disagreeable, hard-headed, right? Because if they weren't that type, there's so many reasons why your business isn't going to work on a day-to-day basis. It's much easier just like go get a different job, right? Go work for someone else. But in the entrepreneur founder world, because there's a disagreeableness, there's almost always a little bit of a narrative bias, right? If you don't have a strong narrative bias of like, we're gonna make it, right? You're not gonna make it, right? 9 out of 10 don't. And so I think that's why it's so important, alongside having, you know, you have to believe in the thing you're doing. If you don't, like, there's no point to do it. And you have to have a very clear reason why, because otherwise when you hit the hard times and the constraints, it's always going to be easier to quit. But you do got to have the honesty side. And so again, I have always been super appreciative of having someone I know that's like, you know, you genuinely care about me and my success, and you have no problem being like, hey dude, did you do the phone call? Hey man, did you follow up? Hey man, I noticed there's toilet paper on the floor of the bathroom.
Which I picked up.
Which you picked up, but I just want to let you know, is like so essential, because again, if you don't have that voice coming from somewhere, then you're just living in your own bubble, and you're basically fooling yourself, and you're holding back your business from growth. You're holding yourself back from growth, and ultimately, the most important thing is you're not delivering the best possible service to your customers, which is ultimately the only reason to really be here, right? Dude, great conversation today.
Absolutely.
So much to talk about. Any kind of closing thoughts, comments?
No, man. Just appreciate the opportunity to be on this podcast for sure. I really appreciate our relationship over the years.
Thank you for the accountability.
You know, I'm always here for the
tough
accountability for sure. No, super appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so overall, me, Luis Perez, again, I help the local community and Raleigh market specifically with their small businesses. So if you're working 70 hours a week, if you kind of don't know which way is up, I'm here to support, add some structure.
If
to the
this
business.
discussion resonated with you.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
awesome. No, we'll definitely have you back on, because I think there's a lot more to dive into with specific components of constraints and the scaling piece. So much to talk about, but yeah, really thrilled to have you on, and we'll keep you posted and keep rolling.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Boom. Great.